When it comes to games that feature cats, I'm always a bit hesitant to fully immerse myself, because I'm not interested in the gimmick alone of simply playing as a cat. I'm somebody who needs more substance. There's a fine line between genuinely creative experiences and those that rely too heavily on the charm of their feline protagonists. More often than not, social media falls into a frenzy over what's marketed as a revolutionary idea, like role-playing as a cat in Stray, complete with real-life tracking. That success tends to open the floodgates for a wave of imitators, rehashing the same concept with a new skin but no real innovation. I want you to think of a game that features a cat, and then I want you to take that gimmick away. What's left in its place? Normally, it is a shallow experience that is stretched thin with little to say outside of the novelty of seeing the world through a cat's eye. If you swap the cat with anything else, would the game still work? Or was it always just about the cat and not the magical journey within? The first question that I ask myself, regardless of how enjoyable the game was initially, is whether it had any underlying story, world building, or thematic depth that I could connect with. Without that, even a fun game can quickly become forgettable once its focus is completely removed. This is why a game like Copycat stood out. When an indie developer boldly names its game Copycat, includes a content advisory about emotional well-being on the main page, and even embeds warnings into its shared links, you start to see the difference. When a game has more than just a central gimmick to lure you in, but rather has something meaningful to express and help you experience, it can succeed regardless of the main character. These talented developers could have used any form of living being, and it still would have worked. Copycat is a very short story lasting only 2 hours, featuring an adopted feline living with an elderly woman named Olive. It plays like a choose-your-own-adventure wrapped in an aesthetic of a National Geographic wildlife special for house cats. One thing leads to another and suddenly you are replaced by a doppelganger and forced out onto the streets, left to experience the sting of abandonment. I do want to warn you, while the game is sweet and charming in its presentation, it's one that will break your heart in an emotionally pleasing way. And just for clarification, there are absolutely no scenes where any animals are harmed. The game is Spoonful of Wonder's very first attempt at game development by a two-person team. This matters when you consider the world building and visual direction. The game is not focusing on dazzling you with its graphics, but it still manages to maintain an aesthetically pleasing style. Perhaps the use of fog and gray filters to obscure the beauty of the world's bright colors was intentional, to create a sense of anxiety or an unsettling atmosphere. It offers multiple perspectives of an animal, or to put it more broadly, the experience of somebody that you care about, like a loved one, as you grow together and understand one another despite many barriers. The narration really ties the whole experience together, making it less about the player having to figure out what's happening on their own and more about being motivated throughout the story. The dreamlike sequences where you play as a jaguar in the outback match the tone of the narration well, but it could have benefited from more polish visually and for its platforming mechanics. The narrator guides and reassures you every step of the way, through your joys and disbeliefs, right up until the point where you feel like you're ready to give up.
The road? Dawn? What's the road?
The gameplay itself isn't all that compelling, and there are a few hiccups in how you control the feline and how it interacts with its environment. Just like the presentation, it feels like the gameplay lacks the final layer of polish that it needs, with the basic QTEs and mechanics for leaping onto furniture, hedges, trees, and rooftops, or defending yourself against the strays. Long stretches of alleyways and roads rely on a Subway Surfer-style minigame, with awkwardly placed dumpsters that break the flow of the entire experience. That said, the game remained engaging, largely thanks to the story and narration itself. While the design may not be the strongest, the emotional weight of the experience grounded me due to past experiences with adopting animals and taking in stray cats, which is what ultimately left me in tears. Copycat is a touching story about tragedy and loss, whether that means losing a loved one, a pet, a passion, or watching your goals fall apart before you. It's why the game comes with its own content advisory warning. If you're somebody who appreciates a well-told story, this game is worth your time. Even if it feels low budget, it's a lightly choice-driven adventure about a house cat on a journey to find its way back home. And really, who can say no to a cat game? More importantly, one of this caliber that dared to try something different and succeeded in doing so.